Hi readers, it's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper, or welcome. If this is your first time here, I'm happy to have you. I am going to do a wrap up on my 5-star predictions that I had selected for the latter part of this year. And there is one that I didn't get to, so let's just talk this through. The reason I'm doing this today is because I want to sort of tie up this loose end that I have. And the loose end is that I've only read 3 of the 4 that I selected. I do plan to read the 4th one. I just haven't gotten to it yet. The one that I didn't read is The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. I do plan to start this. It's a chunker, and to be quite honest with you, I just let other things take a priority. But I do still anticipate that this is going to be very good, and I may start this today. We'll just see. But I definitely want to get to this. And this one, if you don't remember, it is about 2 people, Evar, who is trapped in a library older than empires and larger than cities, and Levira, who has spent her life in a tiny settlement out on the dust where no one goes and nightmares stalk. The world has never noticed them. That's about to change. Robin Hobb says, if you like dark, you will love Mark Lawrence. So I'm okay with dark. Yeah, I'm ready for some fantasy. So my 5-star predictions, I started with a fantasy as well, and that was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I should have probably taken the cover off of this because it looks like it got a little bit beat up in the process of reading it. The hype over this one really was what led me to believe that this would be a 5-star read for me. A lot of people that I know that read it and loved it have been asking me in messages and comments, are you ever going to read Fourth Wing? Did you read Fourth Wing? What did you think of Fourth Wing? Okay. This is a polarizing book in some ways because people either really love it or they really don't. And the people who don't love it are not always welcomed by the people who do. So I'm going to admit that this was not a 5-star read for me. I know there are tiny gasps all over the world in this moment, but it was a 4-star read for me. So it wasn't terrible by any stretch in my experience with it. It just didn't quite rise to the level of 5-star for me. And I think it was really because I thought the characters were their relationships were a little less robust maybe than I thought. The development of them was a little less robust. So this one is about Violet Sorrengail, who is thinking that she's going to be a scribe for the rest of her life. She's, in this library and she's, handling all of that. And then she becomes selected for the Riders Quadrant. And that meant that she would be riding a dragon and fighting for her life and fighting for this community of people. And her family is very connected to the hierarchy, and she's, I think, already lost one family member. This one, it was really good. I'm not, again, not knocking it in any way. It just didn't quite make it to 5 stars for me. I did order the second book in this series, which apparently is going to be a 4 or 5 book series. This is the Empyrean series. So I did pre-order that one. I'm glad that I did. I do plan to read it. I heard the second one was a little bumpy because they rushed the publication of it because of the hype. Uh, but I'm glad that I read this. I'm glad that I purchased it. I have no regrets, but some of you are probably not my friends anymore. I mean, really, it's bad. Like, people get really upset when people don't like that book. I'm having real coffee this morning. Um, just because I went out to get breakfast for my partner and I got real coffee. Okay, book number 2 was In Memoriam by Alice Wynne. I had heard about this not long before I chose this 5-star prediction pile, and this is a debut novel by Alice Wynne. Rebecca Yarros has written other books, by the way, but not in that genre, but definitely has written before. Alice Wynne, first novel. World War I, Harry Gaunt takes Harry Gaunt and Sydney Elwood are in a boarding school in England. Henry's family is German, and his mother is afraid that if he doesn't enlist into the war, that his sister, her daughter, will never be married because they are German and they are not, from England. They're afraid that the country will turn on them, if you will. And so he enlists to support his parents, but also because he's really struggling with his sexual identity and with his relationships at the boarding school. And then Sydney Elwood, who's also struggling with his uh, care and love for someone, decides that he's going to enlist as well. And so it's a story of what happens to both of them. And oh my gosh, this was a 5-star read for me. This debut novel is incredible. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed this. I did start to tab it, but not till toward the end. Alice Wynne grew up in Paris, was educated in the UK, and now lives in Brooklyn. So there you go. So this one is queer love story, definitely lots of violence in the war. World War One, not a period of time I read a lot of books that are set in, so it was really illuminating for me, and it reminded me that my grandfather served in World War One, so I kind of, I guess, had a little bit of a notion of what he went through, but in a different vein, I'm sure, in a different place. But highly recommend this. 5 beautiful stars. And then the last one that I just finished was The Many Daughters of a Fong Moy by Jamie Ford. This was my first by Jamie Ford. This is not his first novel. And this was my Once Upon a Book Club selection. So I had little things to open up along the way, which I did and I loved, and I could pop those in if you wanted to see them. Maybe I could do a separate video just about that. I don't know. But this book centers around the daughters over time of a Fong Moy. It is set in different time periods all throughout. When I first started it, back when I had picked it for the 5-star prediction, I made the error at that time of trying to listen to it, and I was having trouble keeping track of all these women and what time period they were in and kind of what was happening in each of their stories. So when I picked it back up, I started again at the beginning so that I could really cement myself into these characters. And I had no trouble this second time, and I mostly read the physical copy, although I did occasionally listen to it toward the end because I wanted to, I couldn't put it down. This book is by far by far my favorite book of 2023. This is a humongous 5-star read, 5 stars squared, cubed, quadrupled. I cried so hard when I finished this book that I was afraid I wouldn't be able to stop. It's so beautifully written. It is so gorgeous in its character development, in its setting, in each experience of each of these women, in its accuracy around depression, anxiety, the way that Chinese women have been treated. I looked at a lot of other things as a result of reading this and just was trying to understand how this could have happened, but it could. It was a beautifully diverse read. It does have some trigger warnings for sexual assault and violence, and oh, oh, this book. I do want to read it again more than once, I'm sure. I don't know that I can do it anytime soon because it's going to stay with me forever, which is how I know that this is the best book of 2024 for me. I will never forget these stories truly, these women will stay with me forever. The way that he wrote this, the way that he described epigenetics, and the way that he unfolded these women's lives so that you could understand the impact of epigenetics, the way he talked about spirituality, the way he talked about what we expect from ourselves when we've experienced certain things in our lives, the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves, the story that other people read into about us. I don't know what else to say except if you haven't read this book, I want you to consider it for sure. I think it's not for everybody, but when I posted on Facebook that I had loved it, and I literally cried for like the last 20 minutes or more of this book, a friend of mine who reads a lot like I do said, I'm so glad I loved this book so much. It was one of the most powerful experiences of my year, and that is the truth for me too. So 5 stars. Okay, so 5 stars, 5 stars, 4 stars. I'm sorry. I love you all. I did love it. I just didn't, it just wasn't quite there. We'll see. Maybe Iron Flame will be a 5 star read for me. And then hopefully I'll start this very, very soon and I'll be able to fly through it, is my hope, because I have a big, busy uh, next couple of months with reading, as you know, if you saw my video that released earlier. So yeah, that's my wrap up for the 5 star prediction. I have read some other books this month, so I'm going to come in and do a separate one for that. But suffice it to say, this was a lovely experience, a lovely 5 star prediction round. So next time I do this, though, I'm probably going to do it with someone else who will hold me accountable for reading these 5 star reads within a period of time, because I didn't hold myself accountable, obviously, and that's why I'm here talking to you about this today rather than like in September or October or even November. Oh, no, it just happened. It is what it is. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your comments, your encouragement, your views, and your support. And as always, happy reading. Bye.